Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited that you took the time to share with us. If you can give us some feedback, how you end up where you are right now in real estate, even though people may not know, but you're actually not a real estate agent.
I'm not.
Yeah. So how you end up in the role that you have right now, how big the team that you're basically leading is. Yeah, I would love to know all of the good stuff.
Sure. My background is all in corporate sales. So I spent 15 years at Metroland, which was a media or is a media company. And from there, I started as a sales rep and then worked my way up in leadership. And I was my last role there was regional director of sales for the Halton division. And in my role there, it was a difficult industry. It was an industry, the print industry and media industry was always under fire, and there were always challenges that I was helping the reps overcome. And and we operated heavily in CRM systems, big on client nurture and all of that sort of thing. So when Rob was looking for a sales leader to join his team, it seemed like a really great fit because it was important to Rob that whoever he brought in, that they weren't competing with the agents for leads and for that business. So the fact that I was unlicensed is actually what he was looking for. So sometimes when I'm coaching other teams to make that transition, we kind of work through the pros and cons of that. And there are pros and there are cons to me not being licensed. But at the time, it worked out really well for Rob. Now, as far as kind of how things took off from there, I think it's a combination of just my own personal drive and personality and what I give to a role, combined with his amazing leadership of just giving me the freedom to create and to build and to make changes and things like that. And Rob and I, fast forward 5.5 years later, we've just built this really strong relationship, built on trust and all of that sort of thing. So he trusts, the direction that I recommend and things like that. So at the time when I joined the team, we had 23 agents and only a few staff members. And now we've grown to over 70 agents and over 30 staff members. So we're over 100 people total. So we've grown quite significantly over the past few years.
Got it. And if we were to dig a little bit deeper in what exactly your role was and how you started and what it evolved in time.
Sure. So I was originally hired as director of sales. So I still hold that title today of director of sales. But since then, our company operates on EOS, which is entrepreneurial operating system. So there's some popular books that actually I see one of them behind you, Traction and Rocket Fuel. So those books explain the EOS model. And within the EOS model, there is a role, like there's the visionary role and then an integrator role. So the visionary is typically like that CEO of a company, and then the integrator is typically that COO person. So I'm both the director of sales and the integrator. So I run a lot of the operations. We do have a director of operations. He's amazing, who I work with. But yeah, it's kind of having my hands in many different pots, both with boots on the street of helping the agents in their day to day lives and careers and building their businesses, but also those bigger, higher level conversations where we're doing a lot of like future planning as well.
And are you in charge of any of the agents training?
Yeah, so my forte is sales. So I don't pretend to be a jack of all trades. So I'm big on making sure that we have subject matter experts who are teaching those things. So for us, we're fortunate in that we've grown the team to be able to have all of these resources. So I feel for companies, smaller teams or teams that are in that growth mode, that they're wearing all those hats right now. But for us, we have a team trainer who is a very experienced broker, and she is incredible. And she takes on much of the load of onboarding our new agents and that training element. And so she knows real estate inside and out. I know sales inside and out. So I run sales courses and do sales programs and things like that. We have our director of marketing who teaches, trains the agents on AI and on Canva and all things marketing. So we kind of each have like our niches. And then we also have a sales manager as well. And she does a lot of role play and CRM training and things like that.
Got it. Before I go over my questions, because I prepared
Yeah.
some questions for you, I know, you're involved a lot in the operation side of the business with Golfi Team, so I wanted to hear your answers for sure. I wanted to address one of the things related to growth and growing a team, because yesterday I had a call with an agent who actually started a team, a very successful team, less than a year in the business, and put me into this head frame of, hey, look, Holly is basically leading a team of 70 people with no track record in selling real estate. This guy really built this amazing team, having a very little background in sales. How much does it count having sales in specifically in real estate, and how much does it count of understanding how to build a team, how to conduct that business, and hiring the right people and doing the right things for the team?
Yeah, so I suppose, it doesn't entirely come down to sales per se, because, I think it's more, communication skills and how, what their follow through is. So I think if you can find somebody who is passionate about the business, they're going to make it a success. So the example with that person, it's a gentleman,
Yeah,
it's a man.
yeah,
So he's probably extremely, you know, focused, very driven on his goal, very kind of no excuses. And he's going to find, like, he's going to be resourceful to find ways of growing that team. To me, like when I'm coaching different teams, where I see agents, team leaders stall is the willingness to take action and the willingness to make changes. And oftentimes, like, the magnitude of what is before them as far as what they need to build, how I build my onboarding systems, how I train these agents, how I support them, it's so massive that they don't even, they're frozen in place basically. So I think that more than anything, it's that, like, inner drive and that inner fire that's pushing somebody forward. And if that flame's not there, it's going to be difficult for the skills to be enough.
yeah. Now, since we're on this topic of starting a team, if somebody is watching right now and they're thinking and they're perfectly positioned to expand because they have their production, or maybe they just have the fire, not necessarily like very high producers, but they want to start a team, what would be the first hire that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would say probably your first hire would be a really strong EA, someone who, and oftentimes, that EA can grow and morph into your operations manager one day, and then, and then that kind of evolves from there. So getting that operations down, is critically important. Obviously, as you're building a team, you would be growing it to a certain level before it makes sense for you to bring on a sales manager. We're very fortunate in that there's a lot of opportunities to outsource marketing. So perhaps you can utilize VAs and things like that until you grow to a certain point. It's just, we kind of, we kept, basically, we built out, like, how we operate is we build out our accountability chart. We build it out for our present and we build it out for our future. So right now, if you look at our accountability chart, you'll see multiple people sitting in multiple seats. And that's intentional because our long-term goal ideally is for everyone to have one role. But at the beginning, as that person is building out their team, they might be sitting in 15 different seats. But over time, they're saying, okay, this seat, I'm not really good at that seat. And that seat's really critical to my business. So that's going to be my first hire. So it's difficult to really say what hire is best for, as a blanket statement across the board, because everybody's skill set is going to be individually different. So I would say build out your accountability chart, like, completely as your future company. Put your name in all of them because you're going to be sitting in all of those seats. Write out the roles and responsibilities for each of those roles, and then, sit back and look at it and say, okay, what piece am I not good at? What could I outsource to a VA? What could I do? What could an agent on my team take on until we grow to that point? So I think just having that visual really gives you the power to kind of see into your future.
Right now, you mentioned you were almost 100 people in total between staff and agents. You mentioned thirty staff members.
About 30 staff members, yes.
And what are their roles, if we can go through it fast?
Sure.
Positions, roles.
Yeah, so we've got Rob as team leader. I'm the integrator. We have and director of sales. We've got our director of marketing who has a social media coordinator and a graphics coordinator, a number of VAs that work with them as well. In our sales, we've got our myself as director of sales, then we have a sales manager. Then we've got our operations director. We've got 4 client care coordinators. We have a listing coordinator, a deals coordinator, and one that kind of helps with both. We've got a few others in accounting. We've got Rob's EA. We have our staging department and movers. We've got our sign installer. I'm probably missing people. But we've got our events coordinator, our loyalty specialist. Yeah, it's our team trainer and several other agent assistants
Are
as
there
well.
are they all full time or
Yeah, they're full time. So aside from our VAs who naturally can't come into the office, I am a huge believer in working in office. I'm not a work from home kind of gal. So our staff, we're very also fortunate that we have beautiful offices that agents and staff can work from. So Rob does an amazing job. I'm in the boardroom right now, building out really beautiful spaces for our team. So it's important that they're in-house. We feel very productive and it helps with our culture.
that's amazing. Do you have specific companies that you would recommend for people that are looking to hire assistants or VAs or transaction
Yeah.
coordinators?
Yeah, we were referred to Cressida by another local real estate team in our area. And so CRESSIDA, they've been wonderful. We've referred lots of other people to them. They've just done an amazing job. Recently, we used to have an ISA department, and then we made a transition in the fall to going back to the traditional duty model. And with that duty model, we ended up hiring 4 lead routers. So these lead routers are constantly looking at the lead, making sure everything's looking great, and follow up boss, like all the right fields are filled and things like that. And then we have different round robins depending on where that lead is and what that lead is, and they're routing those leads out. So what happened with that is, so we went to Cressida and we said, hey, this is the transition that we're having. This is the need that we've got here. Here's like the job description. Here's what we think the title might be. Like, what do you think? And they did a lot of the first rounds of interviews. They have been incredible. Like, they are just 4 of the most reliable individuals. Like, we just adore them. And it's been a great transition. So our lead routers work, they work 9 to 9, 7 days a week. So we've got 2 lead routers that work Monday to Friday and 2 lead routers that work on the weekends, and they're fantastic.
So their role is basically to look at the leads in the CRM and see what's happening depending on where they've been distributed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
So
they do any
we have
follow-up?
thousands.
Do they?
So they don't do any follow-up. No, so they don't make any contact with the client. So we have thousands of leads that come in a month. So there is a lot of moving parts there. So they look at the lead and they say, okay, this is a rental lead. That's going to go into and it's a Hamilton rental lead. That's going to go into our Hamilton leasing department. The other one will go into our Niagara leasing department. This is a buyer. And then sometimes if it's, let's say an agent was listing their a property in their SOI, so they'd be receiving all of the leads for that, and the leads wouldn't be getting distributed to the team. So the lead routers will look in our back end system and say, okay, Andrea is on ad calls for this property because it's her own listing. So they will direct them all to you. So it's and then they manage our duty schedule as well. So they put agents on duty and off duty. So there's lots of like kind of behind the scenes coordination. And the role has really evolved and will continue to evolve over time as the needs of the business change and they get sharper and stuff like that.
What CRM are you using or any other systems for communication purposes?
Yeah, so we are very committed to Follow Up Boss. So our CRM system is Follow Up Boss, and we have been since 2017. And then our communication tool, we actually just recently migrated over. We used to work in Meta's Workplace, but they are sunsetting that. So we've recently migrated over to Connect Team, and we've been pleased with it so far.
Got it. So CRM is the follow-up boss and the Connect team is the communication. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And that's where it's kind of like our hub. So there's a knowledge library in there, there's chat. There we can put updates and announcements. There's scheduling, so we can schedule out the duty schedules through there. So and agents can trade duty times and stuff like that. So it's been a good transition for us.
Got it. You mentioned that there's tons of leads coming into your system every month. Where are these leads coming from? What are your marketing resources? How do you generate the leads?
We are a very listing heavy team. So we'll typically have, approximately 175 to 225 listings at any given time. So naturally, there's a lot of leads coming in on those listings. So Rob has a saying that he's kind of lived by for a long time, and that is you list to last. So we are a listing heavy team, and that brings in lots of leads to feed the rest of the team of those buyer inquiries and things like that. Outside of that, we use, obviously, we've got a lot of PPC advertising. We have strong SEO. We will advertise also on social, YouTube, stuff like that.
So you,
and then of course we have all of our mass outdoor marketing. So we've got all of our billboards, bus shelters, bus wraps, radio, television. We have a magazine that goes to over 300,000 homes once a month. So our marketing budget is substantial to bring in that volume of leads, but it's what our team is built on, and that's one thing I find so fascinating about this business as well, that there is not one way of being successful in this business. There's some people that grow their business on relationships, on repeat and referral business. There's other people that are like us, and they run their businesses on a huge, like a lead gen base.
And then the next question that I have for you, if you can tell me, is if you can disclose that, approximately what's your budget on a yearly basis for marketing?
Yeah, it's millions. So yeah, millions of dollars a year. It's heavy, and it's not something that everybody can do, right? And I recognize that. But when people are talking about building lead gen, to me, like if I'm coaching a team and they're saying, okay, we want to put a significant budget into radio or into digital marketing or something like that, I'll first ask them, okay, how many leads do you have in your CRM system? How does follow-up look on those? What's happening? Because if they're not willing, if they're not structured, and if they're not in the mindset to be following up with the leads that they already have, then they shouldn't spend money on more. So a lot of this is such a long game. And although it's nice, we all love that lead that comes in that they're like, hey, I want to list my house, come hammer the sign in. But those are just few and far between. And one thing that we talk a lot about on the team is that we see here as well, like consumer behavior is changing. And I've seen it change. Like, I don't know if 5.5 years is a long time or a short time. Probably, in Rob's business, it's a short piece of his time in real estate. But just in that time, I've seen so many consumer behavior changes. And so right now it's like, okay, if I'm going to go to a restaurant, I'm not calling that restaurant anymore to make those reservations. I'm going online and I'm making them. So that connection with that client is more difficult now, because clients are not, okay, like our duty time can be either virtual or agents can come into the office. Reason being, not very many people come during duty time to knock on our office door anymore. And similar to the phone ringing, it's just not as common. So more often than not, those inquiries are coming in by form fills. That means that our agents need to create a deep relationship and build a rapport with them as quickly as possible, because there's nothing there. So there's nothing established. So having that foundational piece in place before you start investing in lead generation, to me, is critical. It's a critical step to avoid that disappointment of things not working out.
Yeah, 100%. And your point is so valid. You can have all the leads in the world. If you don't pick up the phone to follow up with them, it's a long road before you see the results. And obviously, when you have such a big overhead on expense in producing these leads, you better pick up the phone and capitalize on these leads. So your method of generating leads is basically marketing platform? Do the agents come, other than following up with these incoming leads? Do they go door knocking at listings? Do they go cold calling around listings, just sold, just listed, open houses?
Yeah, we do all the things. And one thing we don't require, so we don't have anything sort of mandatory. So I don't, just like we talked earlier about behavioral leadership in a sense, like I have to motivate every agent differently. And that's the thing with working their business. Every agent has a different comfort level. So I don't like kind of telling people, okay, you must door knock these homes, because that could be a form of like torture for them. So, but we do have many agents on the team that find it very successful. So I try and just find fun ways to get agents to kind of push outside their comfort zone. So in the fall, I had two voluntary teams. One was a cold calling team and one was a door knocking team. Agents who wanted to, they volunteered to be a part of it. And over the next 10 weeks, they kind of went head to head to see who could be more successful. So it turned out the cold calling crew, they ended up being victorious. But and now moving into this year, we've just launched two other new challenges. One is a video challenge where I provided the agents with 14 scripts that are designed to communicate with the client at various stages in that client pipeline. And so I've challenged the agents to record these videos, get them into templates so that they have basically a face-to-face, like a visual touch point for that client. I also just launched an open house challenge. So we had over 30 agents sign up for this open house challenge. They'll run an open house every week for the next 8 weeks. And I have an agent, a senior agent on the team who loves open houses, and she runs them extremely effectively. She's basically volunteered to lead that charge. So I try and do little fun things throughout the year to get people kind of outside their comfort zone. So agents who have said to me before, oh, I don't like running open houses, they're not effective, I'm able to go back to them now with this challenge and say like, hey, give this a shot for 8 weeks. You might learn something that you hadn't done before. You might try a different strategy than you've used before. And then, what's the worst thing that can happen at the end of this is, you've spent 8 weeks, you've run 8 open houses. I can assure you, you're going to leave with a net positive of leads. So we highly encourage open houses. We encourage them to be run effectively by door knocking as well. You'll have, there's certain instances where door knocking makes complete sense. So we'll talk about that. And, if an agent's celebrating something, they'll get a text back to me, like, sounds like a great door knocking opportunity. And we kind of just encourage that proactive approach. Now, do all agents take advantage of that proactive approach? No, but I can tell you that the results on the leaderboard are, in most cases, there's a direct correlation to their output as far as what activities that they are doing to produce the business. So some people will say, oh, I've joined this team, why would I do all of these things? Okay, well, why wouldn't you maximize all of the resources you have? It's probably easier to knock on a door with a big brand behind you than to knock on a door on your own. So, utilize the confidence and the strength of the team to help make those different lead generation activities more effective.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that you create these contests, because it does get people going. But I also love that you mentioned the cold calling versus door knocking. For years, I've been telling my team and other people that I coach that kind of want to challenge me that door knocking is more efficient, which is probably, if you were to find, or if you were to door knock enough, you would have better response because you're face to face, nothing compared with that. But when you have the same amount of time, the cold calling is going to win just because they make more contacts, not because the conversations or the scripts are better. And I always kind of encourage people, if you want to make a lot in a short period of time, just pick up the phone, because you can make 50 contacts in a day, but it's very hard to make 50 contacts in door knocking.
Yes.
So
sure. I love it. And that's a great way to work your database. So when people, so in Follow Boss, we have what's called the pond. So the pond are like, they're leads that no one's looking after. They're often quite old leads and stuff like that. Now, when somebody comes in, especially through like an online lead source, let's say that they're just browsing right now, or they're just kind of looking around. So they're like very top of funnel business. So someone's like, they're not looking right now, I'm going to throw them in the pond. Well, over time, that person, whether we realize it or not, they're like slowly working their way through that funnel. So when our cold calling committee jumped into action, they're jumping in and they're calling that pond. All of a sudden now, a lead that came in 18 months ago is right. And you're finding yourself at the right place at the right time. So if you're like, okay, well, I don't want to cold call because I don't want to have to buy these lists and, the do not call list, you already have like most teams, they already have the numbers. They're just not calling them. And then even for your past clients and things like that, I encourage you to ask yourself, okay, if I have one agent, he's done in his time, he's done over 600 real estate transactions. Amazing. So I said, okay, now I'm going to look in Follow Boss and see what you've got in Follow Boss. In Follow Boss, he had I think it was under 200. It was 100 and something of his clients were tagged as a past client. Okay, that means we literally have hundreds of past clients of yours that are currently slipping through the cracks. So over these years, you have not called them. So he's on this big kick right now, project of pulling all of his deals, getting all of his clients into Follow Boss, checking geo to see if they've since moved over the years and really updating that and then connecting with them. So that is still like cold calling doesn't have to be ice cold. It can be warm calling too. It's just picking up the phone and calling and making sure that you're making those touch points. And although you have a method to your madness and it is a regular, ideally schedule that you're on, your clients will feel like it is just serendipitous that you have just approached them at this perfect time in life when they just happen to be thinking about selling and it's fate and you're presented yourself to them. So it's really, really important for sure.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask you this since you brought me here. Do you guys have a system for your database for past clients, sphere of influence database? Do you have them notify like A plus, A clients, B, C, Ds, and the touch points for all of these in the database of each agent?
Mm-hmm. So I think that that's an area that we could definitely improve upon for sure. We have plans in place. So we structure our Follow Boss by stages. So our A plus clients are typically new leads that have come in that you're trying daily to connect with them. So A plus clients are daily connections, A's are weekly, B's are biweekly, C's are monthly, and D clients are 3 to 6 months. So all of the clients in our agents databases must be communicated to at least once every 3 to 6 months. The pond is another story. So the pond sadly is needs work. So we're relying on the agents to go in there with those. Now, as far as past clients and things like that, that is one of our goals this year. As I'm sitting down with many of the top agents on a regular basis to get their databases in order so that they can get those plans in place. And the plan might be as simple as on their home anniversary, you're sending an annual equity check. You're sending them an annual report on the value of their property, saying happy anniversary. So I look at myself, for example, I've lived in my house for 15 years. I can't even remember what season it was that I moved into my home. So if somebody called me on my home anniversary, it would completely surprise me. It would be nice to hear from somebody, but it would also be nice for them to, accompany that with a report on what my value is. And I'm often fascinated that in this industry, how little expectations the client has on us. It's really actually quite sad. So if I compare it to like a financial advisor, so let's say I put $50,000 on my house 15 years ago. If I had $50,000 and I gave it to my financial advisor and I said, invest this in my RSPs, I would expect there would be an expectation that I'm going to receive a quarterly report on what my money is doing. Whether my money is up or whether it's down, I'm expecting that report in my mail. But yet I gave my realtor $50,000 15 years ago and I never heard from them again. So why, the expectations are so low, and we can change that narrative. And there's a lot going on in the US, and a lot has gone on in the US in the last year that is challenging the value of an agent. And here I feel strongly that we're allowing that narrative to take place because of poor service that we're providing. So making sure that we are trying to give that elite client service at all times. Something, what are you doing to deserve this business back years down the road?
And that brings me to this question. What events are you holding on a yearly basis for your past clients or for people that you would like to attract to you?
Yeah, so this year we're planning a large scale client event. So that'll be in the fall. So we'll, have it'll be like a family friendly event, and we'll have food trucks and stuff like that. So that'll likely be in September this year. In the past, we've done pictures with Santa, we've done movies in the park and stuff like that. As far as volunteer wise, we will have lots of different activities throughout the year. We'll do coldest night of the year walks. We have a forever food drive, a Gulfie forever food drive. So we've got food drive bags that will we got we got hundreds and hundreds of bags filled in the fall for food share. So we sponsor a lot of community teams and stuff like that. So it's kind of a wide range, but I think that there's always room for improvement in all of those areas.
Before I go into two areas that are super important, which is recruiting, onboarding, and trainings, I want to ask you, for anyone that listens, what books, podcast, events, seminars that you may recommend people to participate on?
Sure. Well, for seminars, honestly, I feel like I can go to a conference, and it doesn't matter if it was the worst conference. I will pull something from that, and I will leave that conference feeling energized. So I think that mindset is so important going into conferences. If you go into a conference, expecting to just be wowed one speaker after another, I think you're going in with not a great mindset there. But if you're going in saying, okay, I'm going to be open, I'm going to, try to find different pinpoints. Sometimes I look around and I'll leave a conference with pages of notes, and I'll look at people around me. I'm like, they didn't take any notes that whole time. It's fascinating, because it's like, okay, you came here to absorb this information, and there's so much that, how do you relate back? So I say take a really active role in those conferences to really try and find those pieces to learn. Then take it straight back to your team. So typically, if I attend a conference, the next team meeting that I've got, I'm updating them on what I've learned. So it's important to me that there is that chain, that continuation of that learning. And then for books, I would say my favorite would be Atomic Habits. I got a lot from that. Right now, I'm listening to the Audible of the Let Them Theory, and I'm really enjoying it. So I don't know if you've read that yet. Yeah. So that's been good. And then obviously, they're not like, completely thrilling reads or anything like that, but Traction and Rocket Fuel, it's what our company runs on. So they're very meaningful to me.
I'm running on the same one, and I love it. And there's so much structure in there. It makes it easier for my brain to really function having the structure. But I want to mention something really good that you just said, and second you on that, of going to events. I'm an introvert, so I'm depleted when I go anywhere, and I interact with a lot of people, but I still go. And for 15 years, I go in the United States, and I go to the same event over and over again. And people always ask me, is it worth it for you to invest the time and money? And I said, always. And the reason I go sometimes even to the same events, knowing that I'm going to hear the same things, is because every time I'm there, I'm in a different stage of my career and my life and my personality and my growth. And I hear things that I heard before, and they hit differently, and they come to me at the right time right now, rather than, 15 years ago. So I would always go to any kind of events that I can. Obviously, I try to filter, and also time, from a time perspective, to make sure that I'm not a student for life and I implement what I learn. But in the same time, you have a point there. Yes, sometimes you go and you have a bunch of speakers, and maybe not everybody is resonating with you. I always said it's like a buffet. You go in there and you take what you want. You don't need to eat the entire buffet to really have you got your buck for what you pay for. But it's so important, and it really is. Even though I get depleted and I need a day or two to kind of cool down, I have all that knowledge and enthusiasm and desire to move forward. So it's so important.
Yeah. And it's not just the speakers, it's those that you're surrounded with. So Rob, like, he's really big on, okay, masterminding with people who are more successful than he is. So if for us, it's like, okay, we'll look, this team in the US is doing, 2,000 transactions a year. We have to know them. We have
Yeah.
to know what they're doing because that's where we want to be. This team's doing 3,000 transactions. We want to know them because they're where we want to be. So also not being intimidated to go to these events at the same time. So we host two events a year, one in spring and fall called Win in Any Market. They're free events. It's always, and we always have about 400 agents there. To me, I'm like, it's free. We should have 1,000 agents
I
there.
know.
Yeah, and so it amazes me. And sometimes I'll talk to agents and they'll say, I'm just a new agent. Like, is this really relevant for me? Absolutely.
Always.
For you to be able to rub shoulders and have coffee, or even just listen and observe how they interact. Like, there's so much to gain from these experiences. So for me, yes, I agree in the sense that you can't just spend your life going to conferences and being, in training all of the time, making sure that you do have that implementation piece, but also making sure that that's a priority just as anything else in your business.
I love what you said, and I think it's important for everyone that goes to any retreats or events or anything. Don't be by yourself there with your notebook and just by yourself. The best teaches I got from just going during the breaks and talking with
Yes.
other agents, getting their phone numbers, then end up talking with them, masterminding, having lunches. And after the event and before the event, that time is so, it's almost like you're getting everything for free. You're already at the event and you get all of
Yes.
this knowledge. And just, agents are agents, which means they love to talk. So all you have to
They
do is
do.
ask a couple of questions. You're going to know the answers. So let's move into recruiting. I know recruiting has, not the best connotation when it comes to this industry, but I find that more I speak with leaders, that's the word of the day for any team. And they're actually not afraid to talk about it. And they understand the meaning and the benefit of recruiting for the team, but also for the agents that come and join the team. How's recruiting looking for a Golfi team?
Yeah, we definitely are one of those teams that own the fact that we're always going to be recruiting. And that was not an easy task. When we first started recruiting, it was met with a lot of resistance by the team members. And I can understand that. Obviously, that's their business. They can naturally feel that scarcity that, that leads could perhaps be watered down or something like that. But it's been and I believe that we have lived up to this guarantee for them that we will continue to grow as a team at the same rate, like when it comes to the resources coming in. So our marketing budget has grown alongside our agent count. So the number of leads that we get in today, it's drastically more than it was when we had 23 agents because we need more leads to feed 70 agents than to feed 23 agents. So we will always continue to crank that marketing budget up as our team's growing. So we very openly own the fact that we are growing. So for us, with that growth, it's not a matter of just bringing on just anybody. It is important that this person that we bring on will meet the standards of the team. So we have a lot of inbound, which we're very fortunate to have a lot of inbound inquiries of joining the team. We do have a recruiter on staff, and she probably has anywhere from 5 to 10 Zooms a week. And then I will meet with maybe 1 or 2 agents a week that have made it through. And then sometimes we hire 1 or 2 agents a month, and sometimes we hire none. So we have most agents we're not a good fit for at this moment in time. But the agents that are right for us to grow, we will take them on and we'll pour into them. When I look at our team and I see how, like, I can't imagine our team without many of these agents that are so incredible, not just at what they do, not just with our clients, but just what they've given back to the team as a whole, like to our culture. So it's like if we were not recruiting, then we wouldn't have so-and-so, we wouldn't have this person, we wouldn't have that person. So it is so important. And we also understand that people are, while we don't want to grow apart, like we want to grow together versus apart, we also understand that the needs of that agent might change over time. So in order to sustain the growth of the company, we have to make sure we're growing those agent counts. And sorry, this is sort of long-winded, but going back to before I was on the team, Rob, as he was building his team, there was one point in his career where he had I think it was 7 or 8 agents working with him. 4 of those agents, for no negative reason, 2 of them ended up moving out of province. There was, I can't remember the reasons of the other 2, but anyways, 4 people ended up leaving the team. It almost took his team down because so many left at the same time. And at that moment, he said, I will grow to the point where if that happens again, I'm okay. And there's a level of security in there that is so important for team leaders to bake in so that they are able, and that gives them the ability to make decisions of what's best for the team versus what's best for that one agent per se. So it's challenging for sure. But it is important for the security of the team to make sure that there is that you can't be overturned.
Yeah. Are there any minimum standards for someone? Because you said you have a certain amount of people that you interview and then you hire one. What are your minimum standards?
Yeah. So we don't have minimum standards. I'll tell you why. So I am a person who's very rooted in principles. So it will literally kill me if I say I'm going to do something and it doesn't happen. It'll tear a piece of my soul away. So for me, if I say, okay, this is a minimum standard where you have to do 2 deals a month, and let's say there's an agent that I see a ton of promise in, and they're doing all the right things, and it's just not happening, which happens. I don't want to be forced to stand in my principles to say, this is the rule, so you must now go if I see potential in them. So for me, it's not so black and white. So like we had one agent that I adore, and he had a slow start. I think he's in his 3rd year now. Anyways, his first year and a half, I would say, almost 2 years, were a very slow start. He was doing a lot of the right things. We saw a lot of potential in him. There were things that he could do to dial up to the next level. Well, all of a sudden it clicked. All of a sudden his database and all that work he had been doing and building over time woke up. And it was like all at the same time, it like exploded. And then in the 4th quarter, he did 7 deals. And now it's just, I will be surprised if he is not in the top 15 agents on our team this year. And that was going from doing two deals in 1 year, in his first year on the team. So, and I'm so thankful that we remain committed to each other because I do see him such a valuable member of the team. So it's hard. I don't have set standards because I don't want to have to live by them.
When do you fire?
If I don't see an effort, like I'm a hard worker, like at the core, like I take very few days off, but it's because I have a joy for work, and I have a joy for productivity and things like that. So if I see somebody being lazy, if I see somebody that is just, they're I would call it disrespecting the leads that come in by not, putting their best foot forward. If they're negative for our culture. So there's different reasons why, we would let somebody go. Sometimes I would say it's 3 reasons: not enough activity, not enough of the right activity. So let's say we've had people who have been like burning up the phones, but they're not effective and they're burning leads by burning up the phones poorly. And they're not taking our coaching and our suggestions. So, we're at an impasse. And then the culture piece. So if somebody's, if it's for culture, typically, like we'll have conversations about it, but the runway is shorter. But if it's a skill-based issue, and then we will go through basically a performance plan. And with that performance plan, we would work with them for several weeks. And in most cases, when agents go on those performance plans, they turn things around. And in some cases, they don't.
I want to touch on this because if you ask a lot of people say, oh, we're doing great. Everything is great, 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 great. There's nothing challenging. What's your attrition? Are people coming and going? Not necessarily that it's not the team is a problem, but just not a good match or things change? What?
Yeah, we always have attrition. So in most cases, it's us saying goodbye. But I would say we have an average attrition of about 30%, which would be sort of an industry standard. So it aligns well. And I don't fight it. It is a part of our business. I don't let it bother me. I have great relationships with agents who are no longer on the team. I think that, there's many cases where it's just time for them to sort of move on. It's going to be a part of any business. Like, agents, teams that have no attrition, all the power to them. I would probably argue
I
that
don't think so.
perhaps,
I think they're not going to
yeah,
say it, but it's impossible.
yeah, it's impossible. Or they might, I would say, like, are they good leaders? Because a good leader is going to challenge the team. They're going to make changes. And it's typically in those moments of challenge, or those moments of change and transition, that people who are not a part of your future kind of shake out in the mix on that.
Yeah.
So if things are staying the same, and there is an attrition, I would say, how hard is that team leader pushing you?
Yeah.
How hard is that? How many changes are they making to evolve that company? So we don't live in fear here. I would love for everybody on our team to be on our team forever. I would love that. I would love nothing more than that. But I understand that that's not going to be the case, and I can't let that bother me.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Listen, at the beginning, believe it or not, it bothered me,
Mhm.
especially because I was the type of person that was very involved, like there. I wanted to be there for them all the time. As time passes, I've learned that, oh, that's the normal thing. But at the beginning, it broke my heart because I felt
Yeah.
like everybody was family. But like you said, you stay friends with many of them, and with
Yes.
other ones, you just move on.
Yeah,
What are
exactly.
what are your buckets of recruiting? How do you how do you
We're really fortunate that we have, like, most of it is inbound. So we're very lucky in that sense. So obviously, like, you can't drive down the street without seeing us. So we're easy to stay top of mind when someone's struggling. So, but we do have outbound. So a lot of it is like we manage our recruitment through Follow Boss as well. So our recruiter does her outbound reach outs and things like that. So it's just making connections and making relationships with agents in just the same way that we encourage our agents to with their clients. So it's just understanding exactly, how things are going in their career right now, being there for them. It could be, maybe seeing them do that deal, and you maybe congratulate them on that deal before their broker did. And the kind of like those moments that you can have with the team to sort of give them a window. So we will also invite some agents to jump in on some of our team trainings or sales meetings or something like that, so they can kind of get a look at, behind the curtains, so they can see what we have to offer. Yeah, like I don't, I'm not so arrogant to think that our team is the best team for everybody. I think that we're a great team for many, and we're not the best fit for others. So I think that everybody operates so different in this industry. It is finding that perfect team for you.
what's your onboarding once you decide you had that interview and you decide this could be a good fit? What's the onboarding process?
So our onboarding process, we've got first, our director of operations connects with the agent to get them onboarded on all of our Golfi systems. Then we onboard once a month. So the first Monday of each month, boot camp starts, and boot camp runs for a week and a half in person, and that's with Heather, our team trainer. And the boot camp will run, like, let's say the agent is experienced, it'll be more expedited. But if the agent is lacking some experience, and we go super deep into all things to do with the transaction and paperwork and all that sort of thing, we obviously are onboarding them with how we operate in our CRM system, in Connect Team, how our listing presentation, our buyer presentation, our value propositions, all those sorts of things. So once they have gone through boot camp, then they're in 4 to 6 weeks of accountability sessions with our sales manager. And on that, it's a lot of review of a lot of what they learned in boot camp. So it's really going a lot deeper into how to, like, tips and tricks of how to effectively follow up using Follow Up Boss. and how to run effective open houses, and really kind of diving deep into that sort of thing. After that, they would kind of migrate into our regular programs, which would be we like to have these little sprints throughout the year. So we'll have that open house sprint and that door knocking sprint and that cold calling. There's always something that an agent who's looking to kind of dial it up a little bit can kind of find their home. And these are great because it also helps the agent form connections with other agents on the team. So that like loneliness factor can hit the road really early
There
on.
like a meeting every week or every quarter where all the team
Yeah.
together every week?
So every Tuesday morning, we meet at 9:30 on Zoom, and then 4 times a year. So those weekly ones on Zoom, those are just the agents. So it's a sales meeting. And then quarterly, we bring the whole team together and we meet in person, and we host it at a movie theater. So it's fun. We get popcorn from everybody. Like our presentations are on the big screen, and that's like a half a day. So we try and at that meeting, we'll launch new programs, we'll do training, we'll recognize successes and things like that.
And that's with the team. When it comes to the 30 people that are basically the managing structure of the team, what are your meetings?
Yeah, so the departmental meetings, those will happen with those department managers. So our marketing team, they meet bi-weekly. They also sit in a room together. So there's a lot of meetings that take place just on the fly. So our different departments, they will have individual meetings with their departments. Our senior leadership team, so we will meet once a week for an hour and a half. These are our L10 meetings. They're an EOS meeting. And so for me in a week, I have 2 meetings. I have our sales meeting on Tuesdays and I have our leadership meeting on Wednesdays. And then our department heads, which would be our director of marketing, our sales manager, and our director of operations, they have their own meetings with their teams.
God. And I'm going to interview Rob, but when is he participating on all of these meetings?
Yeah, so he's on the sales meeting and he's on our senior leadership meeting.
God.
Yeah.
How at this point where there's so many different characters and everybody with their own, thing, how do you foster culture?
Oh gosh, it's hard. First of all, you have to really genuinely care. Like, and I do genuinely care. So does Rob. Like, we're fun. We like to have fun. It is not uncommon to have like laughter kind of filling our hallways and stuff like that. We do a lot. Like Rob invests a lot of money a year in culture. So that being, those quarterly meetings that are at the movie theater and not just at, in a boardroom. We've got our annual Golfy Awards. That's 30 or 40 grand. We've got we have a baseball tournament, a golf tournament. We do a summer barbecue. We've got our Christmas party. We do lots of events throughout the year. We'll do like vision, business planning, vision board making. We do a big thing for Women's Day. We have a lot of women on the team. So for Women's Day, we're having it's called Spill the Tea, and we've got like a high tea leaf readings and stuff like that. So we'll celebrate the women on our team at that event, and then we've got our Win in Any Market events. Like we're having a Femme Fortune event, which is just a women's event in March. So there's a lot. And so the team loves to be around one another. We love being around them too. So we seek opportunities for that.
Amazing. I forgot to ask you, and it came in my mind while you were talking right now. Do you have any ISAs that cover?
No. So we did. We had ISAs for years, and we decided to move on from our ISA department in the fall. So now the leads are nurtured by our agents.
Okay. And in terms of the agents, the structure are all agents doing everything between leases to listings to buyers, showing agents, or they have to graduate into becoming listing agents, or from a showing agent to a buyer agent, how that works?
All of our agents can do it all. So we do have a leasing department. So our leasing agents, they work primarily with landlords and with tenants. So if an agent who's not on the leasing team has a property up for lease, they can refer that to our leasing team to handle if they don't want to take it on. But if they want to keep it, they can. All of our agents can work with both buyers and sellers. But I will, I'm fully transparent on the fact that our seller leads, they are distributed so like let's say somebody calls in saying I want a home evaluation or I want to list my house. That is going to a group of agents who myself and our sales manager Claudel, we basically play matchmaker, because we have to make sure that the person most likely to sign that house is attending that meeting, because we need that property listed so that we can feed the rest of the team with all of those leads.
Yeah. And what's happening, for example, with the database upon departure when somebody's leaving?
Yeah. So when someone leaves, there's usually some deals that come out of that, to be honest, because it's some fresh eyes on those leads. So when someone leaves, obviously we'll take their SOI and we'll put that into do not contact. And then we start redistributing the database to agents who are kind of raising their hand saying they can take on some new leads. Those agents take them on. They reach out, reconnect with that lead, introduce themselves, and try and present some early value so they can build a rapport. And in many cases, we're able to pull out some deals just from having some fresh perspectives in there.
In terms of marketing, other than the one that you mentioned so far, anything that's coming from social media and pay ads?
Yeah, we do, like, they're, I would say, not as high quality coming from social as we do some other lead sources. But yes, we do get those leads and we work them as hard as we do anything else.
And before I let you go, I wanted to ask you this question, which I ask everyone because I found some amazing questions by asking this question. I know you've been speaking to events, you participated in tons of podcasts and invited to speak. What was one question that you were asked that you thought, wow, this is a phenomenal question that gave you the opportunity to give a really smart answer that you would like to share with us?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard question. I wish you gave that one to me in advance so I can think. Um,
Take your time because I'm cutting it off, so don't worry.
yeah, okay, I want to really think about this. Okay, I know my question now. So somebody asked me once what Rob, basically how Rob as my leader has done to give me the space to be successful in my role. So for me, that one thing is he's let go of the vine and he's let me have the autonomy and honestly like let me pour passion into building this and making it my own. So I feel like although this is his team, I feel like it's my team too. Like I have this deep commitment and ownership, and in a sense, when it comes to the team. So on my first day, I remember I walked upstairs with him. He opened my office door and he said, "Here you go." And he turned around and he went back to work. And I was like, "Okay, I have to build this. I have to make myself valuable. I have to make myself valuable to Rob. I have to make myself valuable to the agents. And I have control over whether this role is a success or it's a failure. Is he going to look at his payroll bill at the end of the month and say, that was good investment in Holly? Or, is that somewhere I could save money because it's causing a lot of disruption with the agents? So for me, if you are a team leader and you're looking to bring on another leader, first of all, making sure that you're building that trust, making sure that you feel confident in that person, and then supporting them 100%. Because like anything, when change comes into play, the team is going to try and poke little holes in it and stuff like that. And so Rob, he gave me 110% of support. So when agents were not happy with me and they're going to him, he was still supporting me and our vision that we're working towards together. So if you're looking to hire someone like me, it's making sure that you give them the space to make it their own. And you'll also give them the space to fail if they're going to fail. But micromanaging in that space isn't going to free you up to do what you want to do, which is continue to build and grow. So that was my one question that really meant something to me.
That's amazing. I love it because this kind of partnership and strong bond that you have with Rob, that gives you that freedom to really take risks, and also knowing that there is so much trust behind it. I love the story and I love your relationships, and it just shows that it works. When you met him, he was a 20 something agents and now you're over 100 team members. It's an amazing story, and I think even though your name is not in the team, you are as equal valuable as Robin there because it's the partnership that makes it work.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not always that they're, success stories like that. So you're very lucky, but in the same time, it's not luck. It's actually having what you just mentioned earlier. You're a principal woman. You have your principles. That means tons to any team leader. The trust, the fact that you are actually a high D, which means you're going to take risk, you're going to be a leader, you're going to move forward, and the two of you to have the ability to collaborate with each other as two high Ds together, and
Yeah.
be able to communicate and grow this. It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You for taking the time to speak with me, and I'm super excited for everyone to listen and to watch this portion. And yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.